You ready? Good evening. My name is Tommy Mold, and I'm the newly appointed principal at Quitman High School, and I'm extremely excited to serve the children of Quitman.
Hello, my name is Bill Russell. I'm the principal at Quitman Junior High, and we appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight.
Okay, guys. We had some questions come in by email, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask this: when will a dress code be released for the upcoming school year?
Actually, the dress code has already been created and published. You can find that on the district website, and just FYI, it is pretty much word for word from what it was last year.
It was. Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for the high school as well?
Same for the high school.
Okay. All right. How will children ride the bus? That's another question.
Well, it's the high school and the junior high have identically the same procedures for riding the bus. At the bus stop, as the students get on, the bus driver will take the temperature. They'll record it, assuming that temperature is less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They will be able to board the bus. Masks for junior high and high school students are required while on the bus. If a student has a temperature of 100 degrees or higher, they will not be allowed to get on the bus.
Okay. All right. Will students be able to participate in extracurricular activities for the second semester if they return to school after distance learning during the first semester?
We discussed that, and yes. Yes, because they will be attending the regular school in the regular school day.
There, one other thing that as Mr. Molden said, that's the way it stands today. Please understand that the school district is under guidelines and procedures from MDE and MHSAA, the Mississippi High School Activities Association, as well as the governor, state, and federal guidelines. So, obviously the school district has a lot of things handed down that we have to adhere to, but from a district standpoint, that's correct.
Okay. Do distance learning students ever have to come on campus?
Yes, they do. For example, 9-week exams, semester exams, assessments, and as well as state testing. They're going to be required to take as it stands right now, there's been no different guidelines other than students will be taking that assessment, but pretty much for tests and assessments, yes.
Same for you, Mr. Roman, at the high school?
Same thing at the high school.
Okay.
They'll be required to come and take those 9 weeks assessment in those state assessments.
Okay. We had one parent ask, do I still need to get my 7th grader immunized before she starts school?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, we received some direction today, and I'll find it so I can read it word for word. The Mississippi State Department of Health has not issued any waivers regarding immunization compliance. Immunization compliance is a student safety issue. If you don't know, we're mainly talking about, as far as the junior high goes, the students that were 6th graders last year have to have that immunization to enroll in 7th grade. That has not been waived.
And what supplies do QJH students need, Coach Russell?
That's also going to be on the district website, but the 3 or 4 things that I would like to point out, it's pretty much the same that it's been the last several years. Binders, wide rule, loose leaf paper, pencils, etc., highlighters, etc. We would strongly recommend, however, now the school is going to be supplying a student with a face mask, the they're going to be supplying students the opportunity to use hand sanitizers and so forth. But we would like to recommend that each student have their own personal hand sanitizer bottle. You can get them in the small. I've got one in the truck, one in my office. Pretty much at home, all over the place. But their own personal hand sanitizer. You're welcome to purchase your own personal face mask if you like.
Yep.
Although the school and the district will supply every student, as I said, with one face mask. The school will have extra face mask at this time to be purchased by the student if they would like to purchase more, and you would rather go through the school to get those. Also, a couple of things that you normally don't think about. Your own personal pencil sharpener, for example, if you don't use lead pencils. Anything that can minimize the amount of touch from student to student or student to objects or whatever. That's going to be a great help in helping keep things under control there.
And at the high school, the supply list would basically look somewhat similar to the junior high, except for the students. When you're a student at the high school, all you really need to bring on that first couple of days of school is a notebook and a pencil. That way, when you go to your teacher's classes that you're scheduled to, they'll give you a supply list of the things you need for that particular class.
And again, this can be found. I didn't cover every item, such as earbuds, for example. A student will need their own personal earbuds. The school will have extra for purchase if needed by a student. But anything from a personal standpoint, we strongly recommend and in some cases require the student to have those items. But everything can be found, as I said, on the district website.
Right.
Fantastic. One other question that we had emailed in before we get to the live questions. People have been asking, what about book bags? Are kids going to be able to bring book bags this year?
Yes, they are. Book bags are allowed at this point in time. Still are going to be allowed.
Okay. We have Miss Tina Floyd has written in a question. She says, if the children are distance learning, how would they participate in band in junior high and high school?
All electives are going to be covered under the distance or virtual learning. That includes band, art, even PE, for example. So there's a lot of things that you can, do online, to cover, a lot of the curriculum that's required by these courses. Miss Ivy and Miss Allen, night before last, touched on this. We certainly hope that everyone makes that decision to send their children back to school. Right. There's no substitute for in the classroom learning, none whatsoever. There are substitutes, and distance learning is one of them.
Right.
But we would strongly suggest and hope that you send your children to school. I understand, and we understand. Everyone understands that it's different from family to family. It's affected. Our school is even some of the teachers and workers there at the school that they're in situations where they just don't want to take the chance. That's totally understandable. That's a family's decision. But if you don't fall under that category, we feel like we're going to be doing the job to greatly minimize or hopefully I'm kind of looking for the word to say that we feel like we're in pretty good shape to keep this virus to a minimum, if at all possible.
Minimize contact.
Right. We're doing a lot of things at the school. Again, Miss Allen and Miss Ivy touched on a lot of that. There's a lot of our programs at the junior high and high school that mirror what the upper elementary and the lower elementary are doing. And for example, water fountains. The students aren't going to be able to use water fountains, but they will have access to the water. We'll have staff there to fill water bottles up, and I mentioned personal items. That's if you'd like for your child, to drink a lot of water, which especially this time of the year is strongly advised. You might want to look at purchasing your child a personal water bottle.
Yep.
But that's just one of many examples. We think we're going to be doing a pretty good job to keep your child safe, and we hope that we can see your child in school whenever that time is. Right now, and I may be jumping ahead from someone that maybe has emailed in a question. School right now will start August the 10th as it stands right now.
Yep.
And again, that could be subject to change, but as it stands today, it's August the 10th.
August the 10th, and we're going to be ready.
Going to be ready.
Commissioner McKinnis asked, what's the earliest can you drop your child off at your school? Have y'all got different times for that, or?
At the junior high, it's still going to be 7:25.
Right.
And of course, now since a car rider student does not ride the bus, that means their temperature is going to have to be checked before the parent or guardian or whomever brings that child to school drives off, in case that temperature happens to be 100 degrees or above. The student will not be allowed to stay at school. They're going to have to get right back in the car and leave. So that's the way it is at the junior high.
Yep. Pretty much the same at the high school. Pretty much the same way, the students at, in high school you have a little different. Students don't get dropped off. Some of the students drive to school. So when they drive to school, 7:25, 7:30, before they can enter in the building, their temperatures will have to be checked before they can enter in the building and go into classes. So pretty much the same thing, except for the drop off. If the students are dropped off, it'll be the same procedure.
Ms. McKinnis also asked, what's the capacity of children in each class? So I guess she's asking the number of kids in class.
Is she talking about the student-teacher ratio?
I think she's saying a classroom. Do y'all have a capacity on that?
Well, we don't exceed. We try not to exceed 30 students, but that's where masks are going to come in at times. They're not currently required in the classroom. They're required on the bus. They're required entering and exiting the school buildings in the mornings and the afternoons, and change of classes, but actually in the classrooms. Now, there will be some occasion where masks will be required in real close setting, group work, et cetera, et cetera. The teachers will have masks. They'll have face shields. Students can have face shields if they choose to wear one. But and it's the same way with the cafeteria. We will social distance in the cafeteria, but not necessarily in the classroom. So that's where we stand there.
Right. The same. Our kids won't go to they'll go to the cafeteria, pick up their lunch, and go back to their classroom. That'll be, during their regular assigned time that they'll have lunch, but they just won't spend that time in the cafeteria because at the high school it'll be somewhat difficult to to do that social distancing. But we feel like we have better control of it and able to keep the children safer by allowing them to come back to the classroom.
And I didn't mention that. Thank you. That's a good point. We'll also be doing a lot of eating in the classrooms at the start of the school year and kind of go from there. There are a few classes that will more than likely eat in the cafeteria because they happen to be in a class that does not really warrant eating in the area. For example, PE class in the gym.
Yep.
We don't have air conditioning out there, and so this time of the year, we'll be making arrangements for them to eat in the cafeteria, social distancing, of course, and then of course, for example, computer classes. We kind of like to keep the food and the drink away from the computers. So we'll be feeding as many as possible in the cafeteria, but there will be more classes than not going back to the classroom.
How will PE work? We have someone to ask. That might be more of a teacher question. I don't know. We have two questions that sort of sound like teacher questions. Y'all might can give me some insight on how does distance learning work. We might deal with the student and the teacher. I guess it would work differently for other. I don't know.
How will distance learning work in PE?
No. How will distance learning work is one question. And then the other question is how will PE work? I guess because of social distancing and,
Okay. You want to start, or would you like
Well,
to
the PE teacher will be required to make sure that those students keep safe distances from each other while participating in PE.
Right.
And, and things like that. That's something similar to like the students even that participate in the high school band. The high school band director is responsible for those students. And when they're out there practicing for the band and keeping the safe distance apart and those types of things. And that'll be the same requirement for a PE teacher. You want to take the...
Yes, sir. And we're pretty much the same at the junior high. As far as PE, and even if you decide to do the distance learning, there's as I mentioned earlier, a lot of standards that can be met that way, if not all of them, through distance or virtual learning, as far as assignments and et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty much the same for PE. In general regards to distance learning, that was the question, correct? It's the same. We've been doing that from mid-March, right after spring break, to the end of the school year. We're actually doing that the last 3 weeks of July with summer school. We do have several students that are doing it virtual or distance learning. I know the elementary principals mentioned this the other day, and it was probably, I'm sure, true across the state, maybe even the country, that when the bombshell got dropped on the school systems, it was a kind of learn as you go. We've learned a lot in the last few months. We continue to learn on how to present classes, curriculum, assignments online. We mainly do Google Classroom at the junior high, and that will again still be the driving force with distance learning. And there's communications with the teachers. Again, let me say it's not the same as being face to face with a teacher in front of you, but there are opportunities to communicate with the teacher as well as other students. So and again, our elective courses will be also done virtually if that's the decision that you decide to make.
Okay. All right. we are finished as far as live questioning. Thank you so much for taking time to sit and answer these questions. We look forward to this year. We're excited about getting these kids back and doing new things with them, right?
Extremely excited. Can't wait to see you.
Yes.
Can't wait to see you.
And I'll add one other thing, since Mr. Molden is new. I don't guess I can give you a fist bump or hug or handshake or anything else, but I really look forward to working with you
And
this year.
I am extremely. I look forward to working with everybody, here in Quitman. I really do. From the people I've met so far, seems like it's going to be an extremely exciting and fun year. Fun year. So everybody's extremely friendly and open to all my questions, because when you're new, all you have is questions, that you need answers to, because no matter how long you've been in, how much experience you had as an educator in a certain position, there's still things you have to learn about a district. So it's been exciting for me.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate everyone's time for tuning in and watching. And again, and I'm sure I speak for Mr. Molden too, if you have any questions, after you've had a chance to sit back and think about it, please feel free to give us a call at the junior high, or I'm sure that is true with the high school too. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions and if we don't know the answer, we'll find it out for you.